was Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who was undefeated against the Fighting Irish in his college career.
Hey now.
1-0. Trevor Lawrence. Didn't lose many games in his college career. Listen, Trevor Lawrence is where we start, guys, against the Colts. He comes in as a top 10 QB for Barry this week, Jay, right at QB 10. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of big moments in London last week. What do you think about this one? You riding with Trevor Lawrence as starting QB?
I think you have to. Against the Colts defense that is fine but not overly intimidating. Lawrence does have these random plays every game, though. It's like, what are you doing, Trevor?
Sure.
One of the fumbles
in the red zone,
against
notably.
the Bills in the red zone as well. Now, he suffered from drops that weren't his fault in the first month of the season. They started finally converting third downs against the Bills, and that really won them the game. So, look, Lawrence, he's a locked-in QB1. Yes, it's kind of a rough around the edges sometimes, but you've just got to start him every week.
He also plays very well against Indianapolis. In the last 5 games against the Colts, he's averaging almost 18 fantasy points per game. He's got a little bit of rushing as well. 25 rushing yards or more in 3 of 5 games this season, so that helps keep the floor a little bit high. To your point, you think about that Week 1 game against the Colts. That was the only game this season where he had multiple touchdown passes, Trevor Lawrence. So I'm at QB 10 this week. I'm obviously keeping it open. You wish for a little bit more consistency, but I like the fact that they're getting ETN going, making a much more balanced offense. So, give me some Trevor Lawrence as a QB1. I'm keeping it open, Lawrence.
I'm going to keep it open as well. I have him as well as a quarterback 1 this week. Even though he's quarterback 19 in points per game, I don't think that matters for this particular matchup in Week 1, which was very recent against these Colts. He was quarterback 8 this week, and the Colts are giving up the 10th most points to quarterbacks in fantasy. So let's dial them up. T-Law, get back on track, dog.
There you go.
Barry, this next one, I think everyone's starting to lose faith in Ramondre Stevenson. The only good news is he's got the Raiders this week, but for Ramondre right now, he's RB30 on the season with only 9 points per game per week. Can you still trust Ramondre Stevenson in your lineup?
Trust is a strong word, Connor, and no is the answer. No. I mean, I'm going to close it out on Ramondre Stevenson. Now, listen, I am at running back 22, which, because of you've got teams on a bye and some people that are banged up, and I guess there's in theory a floor there. But like in an ideal world, you're not using Ramondre Stevenson. You may be forced to as an RB2 or as a flex this week, but if I have a better option, I'm using it. The problem is that the passing game usage has completely gone away.
Yeah.
He has a 9% target share this year, right? I mean, last year he had a 17% target share. They're not using him in the passing game. He's had single-digit fantasy points in 3 straight games, under 70% of the snaps in 3 straight games. His routes have decreased in every game this season. His routes, his snaps, everything. Like, if you look at it, I tweeted this out last night. I do this this Tuesday 10 takeaways Tuesday thread, on Twitter, something like that. A bunch of T's. Very high T.
Mess it up every week.
I do. I don't know what it is.
But once you get it, though,
yeah, it'll be amazing. Shout out to Denny Carter. Very high T thread there. But one of my takeaways was this about Ramondre Stevenson. And again, I showed a screenshot of just like all the metrics that you use in terms of like his utilization. And shout out to Fantasy Life. And it's like, everything is trending in the wrong direction for this guy. The whole offense looks like a mess. I get it. Las Vegas is not a great defense, but I will say this. They played pretty well against the Packers on Monday night. This game is in Las Vegas. That defensive line is playing well. And if A.J. Dillon didn't score that touchdown, he'd have been like running back 36. Like, he got bailed out because he fell into the end zone, and that's always a chance with Stevenson, although that certainly hasn't happened in 3 games. So I'm closing it out on Stevenson. If I can use somebody else, I will.
Yeah, I just think that, look, the Patriots, obviously you don't want to buy shares of that offense, but these 2 disasters have happened against the Cowboys and the Saints. These are 2 of the 5 best defenses. I just don't think the Patriots are this bad. I don't think they're good, but they're not, 0 points type of bad. And this team they almost beat the Eagles. They almost beat the Dolphins. That was this season that happened. Yeah. And they've had a lot of injuries, but it's mainly on defense where the injuries have been with Judon and Christian Gonzalez. I still think this can be a competent offense that it looked like in the first 2 weeks. And now they're going up against the Raiders, who, yes, looked good against the Packers, but Jordan Love did not look good at all. And a lot of that was self-inflicted. So I do think that there is still some hope for Ramondre.
But are you keeping it open on Ramondre?
I would start Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, in a nutshell. I think. low-end RB2.
Those early games when you said where they were almost to beat the
Fairness,
Eagles.
he was high on Najee Harris too. So I mean, like,
See, I almost
always
forgot
get back
about that.
here.
Najee Harris got injured. Oh wait, no, he didn't. He didn't get injured. It's bad.
Those close games against the
And
Eagles.
I've never gotten a call wrong either. So I just like to take those shots.
Right. Ramondre Stevenson is running back 30 in points per game. You know who has more points than Ramondre Stevenson this season?
I bet you there's at least 29 of them.
At
29
least,
of them.
but you know who one of them is?
Who's that?
Jaleel McLaughlin.
There you go.
And he ain't even been
He's
playing the last
part-time.
2 games, right?
Yeah.
You talked about his target share. He's got 12 receptions, 87 yards. 6 for 66 of those came in week 1. So we don't love that. And you talked about the Raiders defense. They played
So
okay.
from week 2 through week 5,
Yeah,
I
he's
just did
got
that math
the-
in my head. 6 receptions.
Yeah,
Right.
so yeah, we don't
In
love
4
that.
games, right?
We don't love that.
Yes.
The Raiders are
4 games.
They're not
6
great.
receptions in 4 games.
A little over
Yes.
1 catch per game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at that. 2
Einstein.
math geniuses over here. Yeah,
Matthew
Goodwill
Einstein.
Hunting.
There you go. That's right.
Exactly right.
He's got 3 straight single-digit fantasy points. So yeah, we got to close that out. Zeke's been better as far as yards per carry. So that's all you need to know. And though the Patriots have been close to some of these teams, he himself, Stevenson, has just not been. He's averaging 2.8 yards a carry. That's nasty. That's nasty.
I think that's my biggest concern when I watch Stevenson. Even the eye test fails you. Last year, they weren't a great offense last year, but when they checked the ball down to him, he could break 3 tackles and get 12 yards. This year,
Yeah.
he's not breaking those tackles. He's not making those plays.
Looks Dalvin Cookish out there. a little
Yeah,
bit.
scary place to be. Trust me.
These days, yes,
All right.
for sure.
Our next one here, Miles Sanders going to Miami. Lawrence, he comes in as RB 33 this week. Is that a justification for you to close this one out?
Yeah, because he's RB 31 for real. You know, Chuba Hubbard's outcarried him 23-20 in the past 2 games. He's averaging 3 yards a carry to Chuba Hubbard's 4.5 this season. No running back has ran for more than 50 yards against the Dolphins since week 1, and that was Austin Eckler. He's a top tier back. Miles Sanders isn't. So with all those factors, I got to close it out, and I think they're moving more towards a split committee now that Hubbard's been getting more of that work.
The issue as well is just that they're 13.5-point underdogs to the Dolphins, so game script, I think, will kill them here, Connor.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. I think this is realistically a game that the Panthers are trailing by double digits the whole time and forced to run the old throw to Adam Thielen junk time playbook.
What a throw it is.
So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, by the way, Darren Gant, who works for Panthers.com, tweeted this out literally just a few minutes ago. Reich said RB running Miles Sanders, quote, came out of the game with a little something, unquote. Doesn't expect Sanders to practice today.
a little something.
Little something.
I think NFL injury
Injury.
reports work that way.
I'll tell you what
Because that could be good or
DNP,
bad.
a
You
little
leave with a
something.
little something that's good. That could be good.
Yeah.
But you could leave with a little something that could be bad.
This is true, and that's not just in football, by the way. That's good life advice.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is that Miles Sanders, I'll tell you what he didn't come out of the game with, and that's a touchdown.
Well done.
Well, thank you very much. Over the last 2 weeks, he just part of the argument, part of the 2 Miles Sanders arguments are this: is like, hey, he's being involved in the passing game this year. All right, well, the last 2 games he's had a 6% target share. You know, he had 15% in the first 3 games, like they were using him, but last 2 games they just haven't. And then you're like, well, and also he's going to get a lot of workload. He's all they got. He's the running back version of Adam Thielen. Yes, he's not sexy, but just volume will get him there. Well, that's actually not true either. He's had an under 50% snap rate in 2 games as Chuba Hubbard has continued to eat into his workload. And whether that's because of the groin injury, or he's been less than healthy, or that the game script has gone that way, or they're seeing something out of Hubbard, whatever the reason is, he's not getting the passing down work. He's not getting the volume here. And so over the last 2 weeks, Miles Sanders has 37% of the team's rushes compared with 50% in the first 3 weeks. So he's in a timeshare on a bad team, and he's not 100% healthy. Like, what are we excited about here, guys? He's my running back 33, and I might be too high on him.
Yeah.
I'm closing it out.
The other problem with him is that I think it's instructive that he's being displaced by Chuba Hubbard. This isn't Raheem Mostert losing touches to Devon Achane, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's not a reflection on you, Raheem. You're doing fine. It's just this guy's the fastest guy on the planet. He's getting displaced by Chuba Hubbard. We know exactly what Chuba Hubbard is, and he's not Devon Achane.
Yeah, there you go.
Our next
Cut
one
to
here.
Chuba Hubbard. Like, I thought I was doing well.
Yeah, wow.
He's fine.
What a
It's just-
stray.
yeah.
What
honey,
a stray.
honey,
from
come
Jay.
look. There's an Australian on TV taking a dump on you.
Oh, man. Our next one, James Cook.
Sorry,
He's got the
Chuba.
Giants, of course, on Sunday Night Football. And Jay, Cook comes in as a top 20 running back for Barry this week. And, you know, listen, season low 8 touches in week 5. He finished with -4 rushing yards, but should be a good bounce back opportunity, you would think.
I mean, this is as dreamy as it
Yeah.
gets as a matchup against the Giants. Defense as 14-point favorites. I wouldn't read too much into that game in Jacksonville. One, the whole team just looked jet-lagged from the start, and they seemed that they just were not awake for that game. 2, they were trailing the entire game, and they were throwing a ton. And then 3, they just couldn't convert a 3rd down and stay on the field. So I would just largely throw that one out. I'd look back into the first month of the season as what to expect from Cook going forward, so I'd keep it open.
What about you, Lawrence?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it open. The matchups here is going to be night and day. You're going against the Giants, 3rd worst against running backs in fantasy. That's basically giving it up for free most times on the first night. Week 4, he still had 12 carries and he scored. He also had a 48-yard reception. Now, week 5, right? The game script kind of affected how that went. The 5 carries for -4 yards that's an ugly look, but he still had the 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 25 yards. You look at the Giants the past 2 weeks, Mostert and Nachan combined for over 200 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. The week before that, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet combined for over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. So I think James Cook will do something. He has a chance to do something in between that against this Giants defense.
Barry, clearly for you, you're keeping this one open. He's a top 20 running back for you this week.
When my love-hate list comes out tomorrow, he's going to be on it as well. I'm at running back 17. We talked about this. The Bills are 2 touchdown favorites. I think what's positive here and in wins this year, Cook is averaging almost 16 fantasy points per game. So again, we expect the Bills to win. You should still tune in to the game on Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock because you never know. But we do expect the Bills to win. 3 of the 5 games this season, he's had 4 more targets. He's had a double-digit target share in each of those games as well. Giants, by the way, have allowed the 3rd most touchdowns to opposing running backs this season as well. So, yeah, I think James will cook on Sunday night.
Well,
but you
much.
hit
Take the
that
day off.
one right there.
You can take the day off.
Thank you very much. There you go.
For the final 3 fellas, we'll go individually around the horn. Jay, you got Devontae Smith. He's got the Jets, and it feels like since A.J. Brown got really loud, towards the offense as a whole, everything's gone right for A.J. Brown. Nothing's gone right for Devontae Smith.
It hasn't, and it's a tough matchup against the Jets. I still just believe in the talent too
have to
much.
play
There
him.
are certain guys. Yeah. He's not quite at this level, but when it wasn't going right for Jamar Chase, he's still Jamar Chase. Devontae Smith isn't, but he's that next tier down. So I'm just going to start Devontae Smith every week that he's healthy.
Every of all the Philadelphia pass catchers, he's actually run the most routes. Dating back to last season when he has more than 5 targets, he's averaging over 17 fantasy points per game. So I'm keeping it open, wide receiver 21. I completely agree with you. I think they just have a lot of pass catchers. They got to kind of spread the wealth. And so, yes, A.J. Brown's gotten his the last couple of games. Dallas Goedert got his last week. They're going to make a point to get the Slim Reaper involved. And me and Penn State Blake are just telling you, as soon as that prop comes out on DraftKings first drive, Devontae Smith to get a reception, boom,
How
bang
is
that.
Devontae Smith the Slim Reaper? Isn't that Kevin Durant? Hasn't that already been
It
claimed?
is. It's also Devontae Smith.
Thank
You got to
very
have
much.
a football
Yeah.
one and a basketball one.
Right.
It's like how everyone's A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, Andy Roddick.
We're in the reusing nicknames.
Okay.
Quite a
lot of
bit.
Yeah, but I'm
JTs out
not. I'm
there.
not crazy. But
He's a Slim Reaper.
He's the Slim Reaper. People
Yes.
have absolutely called him that.
That's fine.
Exactly right.
It's me. Yeah.
But
Kevin
you know
Durant,
what?
but that's
There
fine.
should be a Slim Reaper for everything. There should be a Slim Reaper for hockey.
Yeah.
Who's a hockey?
Yeah, Victor Hedman becomes the
Hey,
Slim Reaper.
hey,
Sure.
In the WNBA, you like the WNBA.
Yeah.
Who's the Slim Reaper in the WNBA?
Great hockey
Brianna
call.
Stewart.
Brianna
Yeah.
Stewart.
Brianna Stewart. There you go. Who's the Slim Reaper on this show?
It's Connor Rogers.
Yeah, there you go.
there we
I like
go.
that. I like that.
Everybody's
That was the
got a
right
Slim
call,
Reaper.
by the way. Definitely not me.
Lawrence, how about Michael Thomas? He's got the Texans this week. Here's the thing with Michael Thomas. He's been fine, but the ceiling has not. He just hasn't been able to score. He hasn't been able to get to 13 fantasy points in a game this season. So do you continue to ride with the floor of Michael Thomas?
Yeah, this is a good question because
Thanks,
you were no,
Lawrence.
just hang on. No. Before you got there, Lawrence, I just want to ask Jay this because I mean, Lawrence, you remember this in the preseason. Jay was really in on Michael Thomas, and then he bailed on Michael Thomas, and then he was back in on Michael Thomas.
He might be back in today.
And we're not sure whether it's a constantly moving chart as to where you are at. We need like some sort of graphic. Like this week, today, Jay is in or out on Michael Thomas.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends how he plays, Matthew.
You gotta ask some hindsight.
I couldn't love him any more than MT, Michael Thomas.
Yes, classic.
The sneaky thing with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave is not right at all.
Yes,
Clearly.
that's correct.
He's got, what do you have, one catch against the Patriots? I know game script there, and it was a touchdown. But Olave's not right, and Michael Thomas is right. He looks fantastic out there. Now, he's not putting up the big yardage totals, doesn't have any touchdowns yet on the season, which you'd like to see, but he's a flex wide receiver. He's rock solid.
So you keeping it open?
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep it
open.
I'm gonna keep it closed.
For today.
But congrats to Michael Thomas for hitting a season high 65 yards.
Hey, he's
week
giving you
5.
10 points every week. He got drafted outside the top 100. That's good value.
He's wide receiver 44 in points per game, which I guess that's kind of what we expected, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not bad.
He's like the Najee Harris of wide
You guys
receivers.
thought he would be in the CFL by now. He's playing
Nah, we ain't gonna do him like that.
I will say at the last Saints game there were six scouts from the CFL clocking him. I just want to say. There was one guy with a Rough Riders hat. I'm just saying. Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
CFL speed game. I don't know if Michael Thomas will work there. Derek Carr is averaging 189 passing yards outside of week 1. So that too makes me not love it. I almost rather start Rashid Shaheed because that's a touchdown waiting to happen. Speaking of that,
maybe Michael Thomas is more built for like the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, USFL.
USFL.
Yeah.
Our last one here, Jerry Jeudy. He's got
I'm
the
gonna
Chiefs.
close that out of Michael Thomas too. By the way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm shocked.
Sacrilege.
Did you ever open it? You can't close out a tab you never opened.
No, I will say but Mike Jay. While yes, he does not have any touchdowns.
No,
he does have one end zone target this year. So he did have a chance at one point during the season. I'm at wide receiver 37, so slightly higher than his season average. It's, if you're desperate, I suppose. But yeah, there's a floor there. There's just not upside, but I'm closing it out.
First 3 games, he had 26 targets. Week 4, Derek Carr was not right at all against the Bucs. And then against the Patriots, they won by 50 points.
Barry, our last
Didn't
one,
matter.
Jerry
Derek
Jeudy.
Houston this week, yeah.
He's got the Chiefs. The Broncos' passing offense looked honestly quite terrible last week, besides what they were able to throw to the backfield. He comes in as wide receiver 33 for you this week.
I'm going to close it out. Look, if you used him, I wouldn't look at you weird and be like, what are you doing there, right? I mean, again, so he's if you're in a 12-team 3 wide receiver league, I think he's a viable wide receiver 3 in that type of format. I'm at wide receiver 33 for this week. The problem is just there's just not a lot of touchdown upside here as well, right? He has he has not scored a touchdown in 84% of his career games. This is not just this year. It is for his career. He's just never been a guy that gets into the end zone a lot. He has just 10% of the Broncos' red zone targets so far this year, under 20% of the team targets in 3 of 4 games this year. Could it be a blowout here against Kansas City? Could they throw to Jerry Jeudy? He's always a threat. Obviously, he is very good after the catch, so could he take a long one? But the Chiefs are playing really well. This game is in Kansas City as well, so I don't know. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, who's had under 55 receiving yards in 3 out of 4 games this year, outside my top 30, I'm closing it out on Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, we even heard Robert Saleh say after playing the Broncos, they aren't letting their quarterback play quarterback. Pretty big indictment on the Sean Payton, Russell Wilson relationship. That was a real quote, by the way.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.